Hello students and welcome to week 6 of our course. I can't believe that we're already over the halfway mark. So this week we dig into a little bit different elements, something more specific. So we've been talking about proofreading and grammar I think a little bit, but now we're going to dig into it a little more. One of the things that you're going to be focusing on this week in the discussion is to talk about your ideas about how to teach proofreading and editing, which leads us to grammar instruction discussions. But then also for your journal this week, you're going to be pulling 3 different elements, and there's some specific guidelines in there on the 3 different elements that you should choose from your course outline that you will develop into sample lesson plans. And then in the course you have a sample lesson plan which just so happens to be related to grammar instruction. So this is big, and I wanted to talk to you about it a little bit because a lot of people maybe aren't aware of how controversial grammar instruction is, at least at the college level. And I want to give you a little bit of what I know and then talk about where I am. As you know from my video last week, I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to grammar instruction, and I'll talk to you about how I handle it and why I chose to take the path that I took. It is based on research, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that I ask of you always is, as a writing teacher, whatever path you take, make sure that you do have research that seems sound to you to support it. And if you can do that, then you're going to, I think, be a stronger teacher because you will believe in what you're doing and you'll have the theory behind you to help you build strong lesson plans and do well by your students. So in the sample lesson that you see this week, there is what I would consider some pretty traditional grammar instruction. When we're talking about worksheets and parts of speech, that's kind of what we would consider traditional. Now, the whole lesson plan doesn't focus on that, and I do see a lot of strengths in that lesson plan, but I wanted to talk to you about why that particular element of the lesson plan in our sample could be very controversial in our field, especially at the college level. So, a little bit of history. So going back to 1986, a professor named George Hillocks published a book called Research on Written Composition. And what it did was it summarized the research in our field up to that point on a variety of topics. The idea was, what are we doing that works? What are we doing that doesn't work? One of the things that we found out is that when we're doing what is called traditional grammar instruction, it's not working very well. One of the problems is that teaching students to do well on like worksheets or multiple choice questions doesn't translate into them taking that information and actually transferring it to their own writing. Now, I have had a few people swear that that worked for them. And if that worked for you, I'd say good for you. But what we know is that it doesn't work for most people. So what you want to try to do, of course, as a teacher is try to find strategies that are going to be the most effective for the most students. And so what we now do in terms of, I would say most of us who take kind of like this middle approach to grammar instruction is to focus on proofreading and editing, of course, as a part of the writing process, an important part of the writing process, but something that you don't want to come before like drafting. One of the problems with traditional grammar instruction as well is that if it comes too early, what we find is that students then have it impact their process. So they're so stressed about making an error that they can't get their ideas out. So that's the biggest thing you want to avoid. So putting it into proofreading and editing, which our course does, I think is a very safe approach to grammar instruction. But I do think that there are some better methods out there. And I wanted to talk to you about what I have found and then point you to some new resources that I haven't fully developed myself as a teacher, but I think that we should all look into in terms of newest research. So one of the things that I mentioned in my last video is that after George Hillocks published this study in 1986, we kind of split, I would say, to a great extent as a field. So there were the people who continue to insist that traditional grammar instruction does work and they swear by it and they continue to do it. And then there are those people who say, okay, that wasn't working. What else can we do? There are people who believe in almost no grammar instruction. I have even taught at some places where you were actually not allowed to mark grammar errors. They were so focused that we have to focus on content, ideas, form, those kinds of things. And the idea is, and there is research to support this, that you just keep students writing and reading, and those errors will work themselves out on their own over time. My work as a writing program administrator makes me question that method as well, only because I'm not saying that there's not research to support it and that it doesn't work. But I have taught at the university level for a long time, and what I have found is that the other professors are not patient. They're not going to wait for this student to work out their grammar struggles. They want clean and they want it now. And although, and I would argue, and I think anyone in writing instruction would argue, that this is an incorrect way to judge writing, some professors will judge writing completely on correctness. Now, I can try to change the world, and I do try sometimes, but I tend to fail. So I tell my students this. I am honest with them. I tell them this is the dilemma. Now, what I'm going to give you is something that I think is practical and can work, and it is based on research. I use most of my grammar instruction is based on two bits of research and two like philosophical or theoretical approaches to grammar instruction. So number one, I believe, and there's research to support this, and this is probably the biggest thing that most of us can agree on, is that proofreading and editing grammar instruction needs to be taught in context of the student's own writing. So you look for patterns of errors, and you'll see this in the reading. There are different types of errors that are mentioned in the reading. What I tend to do is look for the patterns of those errors in my students' writing. Let them know they have those patterns of errors. Look for some grammar instruction to support those specific patterns of errors, and then have those students work on those particular things. If you think about it, it's kind of a waste of time to stand up in front of students and lecture all of them about commas when only 20% of them have comma problems. Now, if 99% of them have comma problems, do a lesson on some commas, but make it practical, make it relevant, have them immediately apply it to their own writing. And so that is how I approach grammar instruction. I try to make it practical, and that leads me to the other book that I mentioned in my video from last week, and that is Ray Noguchi, Grammar and the Teaching of Writing, Limits and Possibilities. And I mentioned that he summarizes in a very quick and beautiful way everything that we know about grammar instruction from a research perspective. So everything from traditional grammar instruction doesn't work to there are certain kinds of errors that are more stigmatized than others, and how can we focus on those and try to make the best difference. And of course, he's bringing in the linguistic perspective, which I only know about in terms of reading other works of other linguistics or other linguists, because I didn't specialize in linguistics per se. But the research made sense to me. It combined a lot of the research that I had seen already, that I had studied in grad school. And so what I focus on is what's called a writer's grammar. I try to keep it practical. I try to keep it focused on the most highly stigmatized errors. And then I also try to focus on the most common errors. Now there's research, it's a list called the 20 most common errors that is updated from time to time. I will share that list with you this week. And that comes from Lunsford, who is also an amazing scholar in our field. So lots of theorists that I'm mentioning, only to make the case that I would like for you to think about grammar instruction, proofreading and editing practically, effectively, and creatively. So in our discussions this week, we're going to be talking about proofreading and editing. I want you to think about what are some ways that I can do this really practically for students. what are some ways that I can do this in line with the current research, and that is at the very least trying to make it related to the student's own writing, the student's own problems, the students' their own errors. So practical for them, individualized as much as you can possibly do. And then of course, also, just general strategies that are helpful and how you can stress the importance of that with students. So I know this is a lot to take in. I hope this is very helpful. I am fascinated by research into teaching, as obviously, especially the teaching of writing. I think that what we know about grammar is very, very interesting. The one thing that I have not fully brought into my own pedagogy is research on something called sentence combining. I will look for, I know there's a really great resource on that. Sentence combining is supposedly one of the best and most effective ways to teach proofreading, or kind of like grammar per se, without getting into too much traditional grammar. It seems to work very well. So according to research. So I will look for some resources on that as well. So think creatively, think about what you can do to connect to your students as individuals, because that's how you're going to make a difference. Just making everybody do noun and verb exercises is not going to really make a difference for a student long term. So lots of things to think about. And my final thing I have to say, and I promise I'll be quiet after this, the final thing I have to say when it comes to proofreading and editing, and I've mentioned this before, make sure your students never see you as the proofreader or the editor. You want to give them strategies, and I like that our course and our readings this week focus on that. You want to give them strategies that help them become their own best proofreaders and editors. And and I guess I would say this, always be patient, because the best writers in the world always have a team of editors to go with them. So we need to work, and we need to try hard, but understanding that we are human beings and writing doesn't have to be error-free to be beautiful. Oh, and never use a red pen. If you have questions about that, let me know. Have a good week, everyone. I look forward to a great discussion.